Hi, this is Allyse. Welcome to the Daily Mentor Calls. This is call number 9, and today we're going to talk about the 2-day follow-up. Now, I think this is pretty obvious, but I'm going to go over it anyway. You know, when you go to all the work of writing a list, rating your people, coming up with a plan, calling them for a sample, actually dropping off a sample, but you don't follow up with them, it's kind of like you go to the 2-yard line in a football field and then stop. You're almost there, right? Keep going. In fact, follow-up is so critical. Most people won't follow up themselves, even if they have a great experience. I'm going to say that again. Most people won't follow up themselves, even if they have a great experience. You need to follow up with them. So if you don't follow up, it's literally like you walking around just handing out dollar bills to everyone that you see and never going back to pick them up. It's just a lot of time, a lot of work, really expensive, and you get very little out of it. Now, yes, every once in a while, somebody will call you up and say, wow, that was amazing. But most of the time, they don't. So that is why we ask them when we drop off the sample, or even when we mail the sample, right? We say to them, hey, you should be receiving it this time. Can I follow up with you on this day? So why do we give them 2 days after delivering the sample? Well, because if you follow up the next day, it seems a little rushed. Some people don't even have enough time to see if it's working. And if it's past 2 days, a lot of people either forget about the sample or they forget that they were even had a cold or a fever or whatever that was going on. It's just too long. We found that the sweet spot is really about 2 days, 48 hours after you deliver the sample. Now, it needs to be a phone call. I cannot reiterate this enough. Not an email, not a text, not social media. This needs to be a phone call. It's imperative that it's a phone call. And just so you know, all of these things weren't just thought up and weren't just, well, we think this is going to be the best duplication model, so let's just write it on a piece of paper and do it. We spent an unbelievable amount of time and effort to figure out exactly what works and exactly what doesn't work. And I'm going to go over that in the next call. But just for right now, trust me, this needs to be a phone call. And the phone call is just really simple, but it's almost different than it's exactly opposite than what most people usually do. So let me tell you what most people usually do when they call to find out if they've had a good experience with the oils or not. They usually call and they usually say, hi, so how was the oil? Or did you use the oil? Or what do you think of whatever oil they gave, right? Now, let me tell you, that's a normal thing, right? People would call up and say, so how did you like Deep Blue? Or did you use oregano or whatever it was? Usually we don't sample with oregano, so forget that, right? But let me tell you what usually happens. About 50% of the time, they haven't even used the product yet. They haven't used the sample yet. Almost half of the time. Some of you think, no, that's high. No, think about yourself. How many people have given you samples or something for you to try? And how often have you actually used them? I know for me, it's probably less than 50%. For most people, literally half of the time, they didn't even use the oil yet. So you put them in a really difficult position, a position where a lot of times people will actually end up lying. Let me give you an example. Let's say that somebody brought you really nice, they baked some cookies for you and they brought them over to your house. And 2 days later, they call back and they say, hey, how did you like those cookies? Now, what if your cat happened to get into the cookies and ate them? You have a choice. You can either say, you know what? I am so sorry. My cat ate them, but I'm sure that, he really enjoyed them. Or you could lie and you could say, oh my gosh, thank you so much. That was so kind of you. You are so sweet, right? And just kind of try and make it seem like you ate those cookies. Well, when you call someone and you ask them, did you use the oil yet? Or how did you like the oil? It's kind of like somebody brought you cookies because they know they drove all the way to your house. They gave you a sample. That sample cost money. It took you time and effort to bring that sample, and they feel bad. But half the time they haven't even used the oil yet. So they could either say, you know what? I am so sorry. I haven't even used the oil. And I know that you totally dropped it off to me and brought it over here. They feel dumb. They're embarrassed and they don't want to make you feel bad. So literally half the time they're forced into lying. And usually their lie isn't, yeah, I used it and it was awesome, because they don't usually want to buy something that they haven't already had a really good experience with. So usually their lie is, oh, you know what? Yeah, that just didn't work the way that I was hoping. Or I think I'm just going to stick with my medication. Thank you so much, though. That was so kind of you. And a lot of times you never really know. You never really know. So to make our odds a lot higher, I don't ever want you to call and say, did you use the oils? Or how did you like that oil? Which is the first thing that comes out of your mouth. And especially all the new people that you're training, that's the first thing that comes out of their mouth. So once again, you have to train it. You have to teach them. And I want it to be memorized. Just memorize this sentence. And it simply is this. Have you had an opportunity to use the oil yet? You can even say, have you had an opportunity to use Deep Blue yet? Or have you had an opportunity to use Melaleuca yet? Basically, you're opening the door. You're opening the door a crack for them to say to you, do you know what? I haven't had an opportunity. Like, you don't push them up into a corner, and you let them really simply say, gosh, I haven't had an opportunity yet. So I want you to, in your mind, practice it with me. Even while I'm saying it, I want you to say it out loud. Don't be embarrassed. So here we go. Ready? Have you had an opportunity to use the oil yet? Say it one more time out loud. Do it with me. Have you had an opportunity to use the oil yet? That's all you need to say. Now, there's only one of two ways that they can answer, yes or no. So if they answer yes, we're going to talk about that later, okay? But if they answer no, so this is the answer I want you to think about. If they answer no, I don't want you to be like, really? Well, why? You had enough time. I've given you 2 weeks. Do you realize that it cost me time and energy and money? And those oils, those aren't free. I could have given it to somebody else. I mean, of course, you're not going to answer like this, right? So if they answer no, and by the way, half the time they're going to answer no. So don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. Just realize, you know what? This gives me another opportunity to have an additional contact. So they know that I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. So it's actually many times a good thing. So if they answer no, all I want you to say is, oh, that's okay. Here's what we're going to do. Now, notice that I like that sentence. I'm using it again. I don't say you're going to do this, or you should do this, or you will do this. It's just too pushy. You're simply going to say, okay, that's all right. Here's what we're going to do. I love that sentence. It works really well. Now, one thing I need you to remember, they have this ailment, you don't. I promise you, they want to get rid of this ailment more than you do. So why wouldn't they have used the oil? If they want to get rid of this ailment more than you do, why didn't they use it? Well, you have to remember that, guess what? They still don't have a strong belief in essential oils. Like other people that have dropped off samples to you, they believe in them, but you don't. You haven't used their product also. So because they don't have a strong faith in it, because if they did have a strong faith, they would have used it. So it's obvious. If they have an ailment and they didn't use it yet, it means they don't have a strong faith. So all we need to do here is build their faith again. Be excited, be controlled, know that a big percentage of the time they're going to say no, they didn't use it if they're being honest. And we got to get them excited. So let's try this one more time. You call up and you say, have you had an opportunity to use the oils yet? They say, oh, you know what? I actually haven't had the opportunity yet. You say, oh my gosh, no problem. That's okay. Here's what we're going to do. When you get home tonight and start getting ready for bed, I want you to take that deep blue and I want you to massage it right into the part of your back that hurts the most. So whatever the oil is, you guys, and whatever, the protocol is, this is where you're going to repeat it. So I want you to take that deep blue and I want you to just drop like several drops, maybe 3 or 4 drops on your fingertips and rub that into just that part of your back that hurts the most. Let it sit there. Wait for 3 to 5 minutes. It should start tingling. And then you'll know if it's working or not. Then it should really help relax your muscles. So I'll give you a call in the morning to see how it goes. Now, what I've just done is the first time I dropped off the sample and explained how to use it, I told them I'd call them in 2 days. If they haven't used it, all I do is tell them again how to use it again and then say, I'll give you a call in the morning. We're making that time period shorter. And I mean, it doesn't have to be in the morning. It could be in the afternoon. It could be the next day, whenever works for them, right? But I usually say, I'll call you in the morning. And if they say, oh my gosh, I'm busy in the morning, I'm like, well, I'll give you a call in the afternoon. And then you remind them. Now, tomorrow when I call you, if you don't have the results you're looking for, that's okay. I can drop you off something else. If you're as patient with essential oils as you are with medication, we'll find something safer, cheaper, and more effective for you. But I think you should have a really great night's sleep, and that deep blue should really just calm and relax your muscle. That's it. That's what you do. So you just call them, ask them if they've had the opportunity to use the oil yet. If they say no, you say, that's okay. Here's what we're going to do. You tell them how they're going to do it again. You get them excited. And then you tell them you're going to give them a call in the morning or the next afternoon. And you remind them, but if you don't have the results you're looking for, that's all right. We can use something else. And to be patient with essential oils like they are with medication, and we can find something safer and cheaper and more effective. That's what that 2-day call looks like. Now, it's really critical, really, really critical that you do it that way. You can't get angry. You can't get bugged, right? I know it's pretty obvious, but you'd be amazed how many times I'm listening to people who do follow-up calls that I just think, oh my goodness, and they don't realize how they're turning people off. So what do we have to do? We have to practice it. We have to role play it with people. Role play it over and over. Role play it 5 times until it becomes natural to you. Now, what if you call them in the morning? What do you say when you call them in the morning? Well, you don't say, did you use the oil? Or how is the deep blue? What do you say? You say the exact same thing. Have you had an opportunity to use the oil yet? Well, guess what? You would be surprised, but there are some people that still haven't used it. They still won't have used it. I mean, not very many. After you call them, the night before and you tell them exactly how to use it, they usually will use it. But there still are some people that just won't have used it. And what you do is you simply say, that's okay. Here's what we're going to do. Just like the night before. Don't be bugged. Don't be frustrated. And know that this does happen. Go, and then you just tell them, go get the oil right now. And I'm going to walk you through it right now. Just put it on your fingers, rub it into the small of your back, and just sit there for about 2 or 3 minutes. Tell them a little bit about essential oils, how they're safer, how they're cheaper, whatever. Let it sink in and let them have an experience right there on the phone with you. Does this make sense? Now, let's go to if they've used the sample and when you call them, they say yes. Okay, so let's rewind. Don't worry, I'm going to give you this big, not big, but a sheet of paper, and it's a sampling. It's just a flow chart of how you do the sampling. So you can look at this sampling flow chart. You can even look at it when you call somebody. And it can just tell you exactly what to say. If they say yes, if they say no, you just go through this flow chart. It's really quite easy. So we're going to go back to the beginning. What if you Call in 2 days and you say, of course you say, have you had an opportunity to use the oil yet? What if they say yes? Well, what do you say if they say yes? Well, there's one of two ways they can go. They can either say they had a good experience, or they can say they have a bad experience. So if they say yes, you simply ask, well, tell me about your experience. How was it? Now, I want to tell you that not everybody has a great experience when they use essential oils. And I know that if you use oils long enough, there'll be some oils that you don't have a great experience with. So don't be shocked. But the sad thing is if we don't train on what to say when somebody has a bad experience, or if we don't tell our brand new leaders or people that are sharing how to handle this, it really not just upsets them, it almost shakes their faith in essential oils. So it's super important that they know that not everyone is going to say the very first time, it was amazing, right? So I'm going to give you some examples. You could call up somebody and say, have you had a chance to use the essential oils? And they say, yes. You say, how was it? And they literally could say, it was terrible. It was awful. That deep blue was burning my back so much that not only did my back not feel better, it literally kept me up more at night. And I had a worse night's sleep. Or they could say, you know that Melaleuca that you gave me? I totally broke out in hives. Like now not only do I have the skin problem that I had before, now I have hives on top of it. Like I've had these experiences. This has happened to me. Not a lot, but it has happened to me, right? There are some people that are legitimately allergic to essential oils. It's very rare. But most of the time when somebody has a bad experience, like for instance, let's say they say, oh my gosh, it was terrible. The deep blue was so hot. It was so burning. Like, honestly, I had a worse night's sleep and it didn't help me at all. Usually what's happening is they're concentrating so much on their ailment because they're using this that they think to themselves, is it working? No, it's not working. Is it working now? No, it's not working. Gosh, it's worse than it was before because they're concentrating on it so much, right? So don't react. Don't sound surprised. In fact, you don't even have to solve this. Let me tell you why. Because if you've done your prep well, if you have set your expectation well, this is so easy. What you're going to do is you're actually going to do exactly opposite of what your regular reaction would be. Most people's reaction when somebody says, oh my goodness, it was terrible. Like my back hurt worse. I couldn't sleep. Not only did Deep Blue not work, I literally think it made my back worse. A normal reaction is to try and downplay this. A normal reaction would be, really? Oh my goodness. Well, that like never happens to other people, which of course won't make them more excited about essential oils, right? It will actually bug them. Or how about this one? If you said to them, well, did you apply it properly? You must not be applying it properly. Or, gosh, you're the first person that has ever told me that Deep Blue hasn't worked. None of these are good. This will never be a good outcome if you say this. Knowing that some people won't have the reaction that they want, or knowing that some people won't get what they're looking for, you have to come prepared that this might happen. They might say yes, and it was terrible, right? So what you're actually going to do is you're going to listen, you're going to ask them questions, and you're going to restate. You're almost going to do exactly what you would think you shouldn't do, and that's jump on the problem. Support the problem. It sounds something like this. So you call somebody up and you say, hey, have you had an opportunity to use the oil yet? They say, actually, yeah, I did. And you say, okay, well, tell me about your experience. And they say, it was actually terrible. I put the Deep Blue on, just like you told me. My back started burning. It didn't help it. It didn't make it relieve the pressure. If anything, it made the pressure worse. And I couldn't sleep for hours. I had a terrible night's sleep. Really? Well, that sounds awful. So you put the oil on just like I told you, right? Yeah, I put it on just like you told me. And you rubbed it in and you waited for 3 or 5 minutes and it started to tingle, but it got really hot. Yeah, not just hot, it was uncomfortable. So you didn't see any difference. In fact, it felt worse than before. Yep, just like I said. Like literally, I was up for most of the night. I had a terrible night's sleep. Oh my goodness. That obviously isn't the right oil for you. Now, notice what I just said. I didn't try and talk them out of their experience. I didn't try and tell them that it was less than what they were saying. And I didn't even say, well, you could do this, or you should have done this, or why didn't you do that? I simply just said, well, that's obviously not the right oil for you. Do you remember what we told them and we prepped them right before we dropped off the oil? Not everybody has the same experience with the oils. And if you don't have the right experience, then guess what? Here's what we're going to do. And so that's exactly what you say. You simply say, well, that obviously is not the right oil for you. So here's what we're going to do. If you'll continue to be patient with the process, I'll totally be patient with you. And I'm going to drop you off an oil called wintergreen. This oil, when Deep Blue doesn't work on pain and muscles, wintergreen is a really great solution. And it's another one that I think that you'll have some good results from. And I'm going to give you a sample of that, and we'll see what the best oil is to address your health need, to address your back. And when we found the right oil, then you'll have something safe and natural and cost effective. And I think I have time. I can drop it off this afternoon. When would be a good time for you? So then you just deliver the new sample and you restart the sampling process over. Do you see how this works? Basically, if they don't have a good experience, then you drop off another sample and you tell them to be patient. That just like medication, not everything works the same on every person. Even if you have to drop off an oil 2 or 3 times, a different oil, well, you get another contact with a person and you basically do what you say you're going to do when you say they're going to do it. And through this process, a person actually thinks to themselves, oh my goodness, Allyse is going to do what she says she's going to do. She's going to keep her commitments. And while I'm keeping my commitments, something kind of magical happens. And it goes something like this. I believe in Allyse. I like her. And I trust her. I trust that she says she's going to do what she said that she says she's going to do. And not only do I trust her, gosh, I think I want to do business with her because I think she's going to do in business just what she's done with sampling. And I think she can take me places where maybe I couldn't take myself. And through this process of keeping our commitments, through this process of getting more contacts, we actually find that not only are people willing to purchase the oil or oils, a kit, but they're more and more interested in doing business with us. It's an incredible thing. So is it that bad of a thing if they have a bad experience and you have to drop off another oil and they have a better experience? No. Sometimes it's actually a positive. So you deliver the new sample and you restart the sampling process over. Now, are there times where the oils just aren't working for this ailment? Yeah, sometimes there are times. What do? Well, you try another ailment. You try something else. If back pain wasn't working, you try sleep. If sleep wasn't working, you try skin. As long as they're going to be patient with you, be patient with them. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is a lot of time. This is a lot of energy. Boy, I feel like I'm going to be wasting my time. That is why at the very beginning, you rate your people. And then you always sample the people that you've rated highest, because these are the people that you want to be putting all of your time and energy into, because they're the ones that would be the best. They would have the best chance of being successful in the business. Do you understand how all of these things build on other things, on other principles? So if I have someone that's a 7 on my chart and she's influential and she loves, natural things, and she's a woman and she's 40 years old and she's done business before and people listen to her, Do I want to keep putting my time into her? Absolutely. As long as she'll be patient, I'll be patient with her. Does this make sense? It should. Now, if we go back to this, if you call them the first time and they haven't used it, so you give them an opportunity to use it the next day. If you call them the next day and they haven't used it, you give them an opportunity to use it right then. And you wait until they have a good experience. Now, I'm going to make this incredibly clear. One of the biggest mistakes that we make in this business is we invite people to come to a class before they have a good experience. I'm going to go over that in detail in my next call, but never, ever, ever invite somebody to a class or a one-on-one until they've had a good experience. We always wait until they have a good experience. Yes, sometimes it might take a week. Sometimes it might take 3 or 4 samples. Wait, be patient, put your time into prep. Do it. It's the most important thing, because once they've had a good experience, my friends, their ailment is relieved and they want to get rid of their ailment way more than you do. And their husband wants to get rid of their ailment way more than you do. And the first person that they'll talk about is their husband. And they will come to that class ready to purchase. Take your time, sample correctly, follow up correctly. And if you wait until they have a good experience, then guess what? That is when you invite to a class. So when you call and you say, hey, have you had the opportunity to use the oils yet? And they say yes. And you say, well, tell me about your experience. And if they happen to say, which doesn't happen all the time, and you need to know this, if they happen to say on that first call, it was amazing. I put the deep blue on, just like you said. I rubbed it into my back. I waited 3 to 5 minutes. It was totally relaxing. My back felt good. In fact, now, a whole night later, I still don't have back pain. This hasn't happened for months. I love deep blue. That, my friends, is right when you invite to a class. And it is not until you've gotten to this point. Be patient. I promise it will pay off. This is how you properly follow up. So, I hope you understand. I hope you believe me. I hope you trust me. Please trust me. Your assignment for this call is simply to look over the sampling flow chart. Get really clear on how you follow up. Get really clear on what you say. And then I want you to call someone. It could be someone in doTERRA. It could be somebody in your family. It could be someone else. It could be just somebody at work. And I want you to test this on them. I want you to practice this. I want you to role play. And usually you have to role play it 5 different times and tell them to say something different next time. Say no this time. Say yes this time. Say you had a great experience. Say you had a terrible experience, and role play this out until you get really comfortable and you know exactly what to do. Now, if you do this and train this with your team and they feel comfortable, they don't get frazzled. They don't get worried. In fact, sometimes if you don't train and they call up somebody and they say, I had a terrible experience. I have hives all over my body. And I had a problem with my skin and now it's worse. Do you know what a new person could think? Oh my goodness, all I wanted to do was share essential oils with people to help them. And now I'm hurting them. I'm nervous to sample. And I don't think I'm going to do this again. That's what could totally stop a new person in their tracks if they haven't been trained effectively. So look at your sampling flowchart, train it, role play it, read it, role play it again, practice it, role play it again until you become very, very clear. Have a good day. We'll talk to you on our next call.